Why you should watch Bungo Stray Dogs. No spoilers. This is going to be completely no spoiler review. If you want to know why this show is so great, why I recommend it over other types of shows, and what makes this show stand out in comparison to others, continue watching. That's what this video is going to be about. As a person who loved Bleach growing up, this show was great because it has supernatural powered characters, which was familiar to me from Bleach, but instead of a main character being a teen in high school, we finally had an 18-year-old lead, which was like great for me because though I do enjoy high school focused animes, it is always a breath of relief to finally have older characters that are not in high school and are in their young adult age. Because as a young adult, it's a little more interesting to have characters that are in their 18 to 20s age range because it's just not as common in anime. Like, it's usually all about the high school, the 15-year-old just like becoming a war hero for some reason and getting powers and acting as a child soldier. Like, it's kind of messed up thinking about it, how teenagers are going through all of this stuff in other animes. But in terms of this show, the characters are mainly older, except for Kyoka, who is 14 years old. She's a literal child. But most of the characters, the main cast of characters, are in their 20s, and Atsushi is 18. Akutagawa is 20 years old, so he's just 2 years older. It's very much more, I would say, an older take on the supernatural genre. Like, it's not about like a young teen who is 15 or 16 in high school who has an ability or receives an ability. It's about someone who is older and is struggling in adulthood. The main character, Atsushi, is figuring out what the hell he wants to do, mainly due to the fact that his circumstances are where he's an orphan, he's struggling, he's starving. It's very much a struggle of making ends meet. Like, what do you do when you have no education, no experiences? You're just literally going to be starving on the streets. It's basically a critique on the current economic reality of many people. Like, the economic disparity of the 21st century is clear in this series. Obviously, the show isn't going to be delving into our current economic reality that deeply. It is still a show about supernatural abilities. In this case, for Bungo Stray Dogs, by supernatural abilities, I mean people with specific abilities that are unexplainable to the general reality. So even though there are themes of economic disparity between different classes, like how the orphans are clearly and all of other children on the streets don't have any housing, no food, nobody's taking care of them. The social services clearly aren't doing their job. There's no money in social services, I'm assuming, in this alternate universe. But it's mainly about the supernatural abilities, and we do love to see it. People just going ape shit. Like, if you want to watch a good series where the abilities just look great, it just looks beautiful, the animation is gorgeous, the first and second openings are super catchy. If you just want to have some fun, I would suggest watching it. The comedy is great. I would also say the fact that characters are older is great. For the fight scenes, they may not be as extreme in terms of like crazy strategies. It's not like Hunter x Hunter with many long explanations for the abilities, like paragraphs worth of explanation, which happens in the manga from what I'm aware. And there isn't that level of complication, and it's not like JoJo's where strategy is very bizarre and very high level complicated elements that turn the situation around completely. But then again, nothing can top JoJo's strategies. Stray Dogs is not like an action series like that. The show isn't about an inside the fight strategy. It is more about where everyone in the cast is placed, where one specific character decides to put each person. Basically, it's about deciding a general plan, and a typical fight scene occurs afterwards. And the fight scenes are animated so beautifully, and all the characters are so enjoyable that the show easily becomes like one of your favorites if you give it a chance. By typical fight scene, I'm referring to typical shonen fight scenes. And yes, technically, Bungo Stray Dogs is a seinen anime, so it's technically going for ages 17 and up. But in North America, young teens are watching pretty much anything. Like when I was 13, I watched Death Note, a show that I probably didn't even understand all the themes like I would as a young adult, because once again, I was only 13. My point is 13-year-olds and 15-year-olds are going to be watching these shows around the world. So at this point, despite it's categorized as a seinen anime, in theory, it's reaching the shonen anime audiences interchangeably. So it has the shonen fight scene formulas in terms of the large physical fights, but it's beautiful, the animation's beautiful. I do think the abilities are interesting. Unlike other shows, the abilities are a little bit complicated in that there are limits to certain abilities. There are limits in terms of what rules apply to them. And also, because the series is also like a mystery kind of detective-y series, there is a lot of like, oh, solving a problem or solving a mystery, which I do love. So like it combines contemporary supernatural with the, you know, like detective work. We gotta solve things. Who's doing what? Like, is there like a murder case to solve? Is there like some other bad things happening in town that we gotta solve and figure out? Who's the big baddie in town, like that type of stuff. If you're into that, definitely watch this. I do feel like the show is catered towards my age group demographic as a 22-year-old, so it does cater towards an older demographic. I don't know if younger teens would like it as much, but for me, because it delves into interesting themes of finding yourself, finding a place to belong, and learning to value your own life, I still think it can reach out to teen audiences just as well as older audiences. On top of that, I do feel like a teenager would still vibe with the show, mainly due to the fact that it is a typical action anime. So there are cool fight scenes, there's cool designs. I feel like one of the greatest parts of the series is that, once again, the animation is beautiful, the background just makes you sigh so happily, and the character designs as well as their personalities themselves are complex and eccentric, but the cast just ends up growing on you and they become individuals you just find so compelling to watch in terms of their dialogue and interactions with one another. Another type of person I could recommend the series to is if you're a fan of literature, especially well-known classic literature. A fun little detail to this series is that each character is named after a real-life author or poet who exists, and the creator of the Bungo Stray Dogs manga translates the author or a work of that author onto each character in the series. So in summary, if you're a literature nerd at all, I can guarantee you will have some sort of fun or interest while watching the series, simply because you may recognize the characters' names already. It can be fun to see how the creator interpreted the author or poet's most known work into the character, the ability name, and even the ability itself. So you can watch the series and point out these references and be like, oh, I recognize that, which can be fun and very exciting to do if you're a fan of literature. So for any literature nerds watching this video, this is definitely a fun show for you to watch, and it can make the experience of watching the series a lot funnier and more enjoyable. You can always make your own comparisons about whether you agree or disagree with these interpretations of the author's work or the author themselves. In short, literature nerds can probably get a little bit more of a laugh out of this, and perhaps even casual readers may be able to recognize some of these authors as well. So it can hit many different audiences that are interested in reading. Now, for this section of the video, I wanted to have a little screen where the names of other shows come up, that if you enjoyed these shows, you will also likely enjoy Bungo Stray Dogs. I feel like this is also another way to get recommendations. There are I feel like certain types of anime watchers where if you enjoy a specific type of series, there's a high probability you will also like this type of series. So some examples can be Bleach, Demon Slayer. Off the top of my head, I'm like thinking random, like Noragami. Literally any shonen anime, but you want more mature topic. So like if you enjoyed other shonen shows such as like Bleach, One Piece, or like Naruto or Hero Academia, but you want like a little bit of more mature topics, this series definitely does have a 17 plus, so it does have a, I would say, mature audience expectation. So a lot of themes going on that can be a little bit more mature and interesting and serious. So like if you want serious themes and dark tones in certain aspects of a series, and by dark tones I don't mean like gory, like extreme gory, but that is not this series. The series is not like extreme gory elements, so you don't have to worry about like stuff that will make you disgusted. I just mean mature like themes, like I was talking about earlier, like there's issues of economic disparity that are like vaguely hinted at, as I mentioned before, valuing your life. So there are those types of issues in this series. Obviously it is not the main topic of the series. When I say it just deals or like slightly mentions these issues. I feel like if you wanted like an extreme deep dive into these certain topics, I would recommend like reading a book series, not like watching an anime that is very popular, because due to time restraints, most anime shows, they cannot delve into everything very perfectly or like in depth or intellectually. So it's not going to be doing some great like extreme arguments in terms of these issues, but there are there, which I do enjoy. Like I do enjoy when these types of mature themes and actual social issues are at least mentioned vaguely in series. At least it gives a series a little bit more, I would say, roundedness. Like, it's not just a flat series where it's only simply about characters, but there are real life issues it could apply to, and you can end up relating yourself to specific characters and what they perhaps are going through. So a person could watch this and relate to the main character at Sushi if they go through similar issues of abandonment, neglect, abuse, etc. So I do feel like I should be mentioning these aspects here because there are definitely abusive elements in this series, so it isn't a mature series for those reasons. So if you are a young kid out there, like a young teen, and you have any like personal experiences of those types of terrible instances of violences, I will put that as a trigger warning here. If you do not want to be watching any content that is dealing with abuse or anything like that, do not watch the series because I feel like it could be possibly triggering in terms of those aspects. But besides that, it is a very compelling series. If you want to watch a show with a great plot and compelling characters, watch this. It's not gonna let you down. Other shows might do you dirty by leaving you on a cliffhanger that kills you on the inside, or other series can leave you disappointed where you didn't like the ending. I believe that all the seasons for this show wrap up very well, especially season 1 and 2. Those 2 seasons have a perfect amount of overarching plot where by the end of each season, you are completely satisfied. And to an extent, I would say the same for season 3 as well. Though I do think the last episode was a bit of a miss in some aspects for season 3. The series does end on a very good wrapped up note in terms of plot. Currently the manga is still ongoing, so the plot is still ongoing, but in terms of season 3, you are not like, it's not a crazy cliffhanger. It feels like very much an end of a season end. So even though Bungo Stray Dogs season 3 ended in 2019, so it's been like a little bit, it's been like 2 years basically already, or around 2 years. So it has been a while, but I do feel people are patient enough to wait. Like, most anime fans like are okay with waiting and just being solely anime watchers. I am not patient enough to do that, so I've been reading the manga. But I do believe there is a Bungo Stray Dogs 1 going on, which is like coming out right now, and it is a joke series with chibis that I believe they're like kind of like shorts, sort of, where it's like little chibi versions of the characters, and sort of like a joke series where it's like, what are they up to when the show isn't going on? Sort of like, it's very much a comedic series. So if you become a fan and want more content, that is coming out right now. And the fact that there is a chibi series coming out kind of tells me that there is going to likely be another season due to the fact that they're like actually animating like Bungo's like the Wand series. So like the fact that they're animating that, I'm assuming there will be a new season, though I don't know if there's a confirmation that it's actually going to be animated, but like assuming the fact that they're animating that, there is definitely an audience for season 4. To break it down, there is 3 seasons, 12 episodes each, so a total of 36 episodes. An OVA which comes after season 2, so you watch season 1, season 2, the OVA, then season 3, and then finally there's a movie titled Dead Apple, which also came out after season 2, though I do believe some people can argue that Dead Apple, the movie, is not as exciting as the show, or is pointless to overall plot of a show. Not that it isn't exciting, it is fun to watch if you're a Bungo Stray Dogs fan, if you're just there to have fun. But if you're like looking for a movie that has super deep meanings or isn't formulaic, Dead Apple is not that movie. Like, it's a formulaic shonen movie. Most shonen movies are very formulaic. It's very much, oh, there's a villain, we gotta defeat the villain is defeated. It's basically any plotline in any type of movie or series or even action movies. So I don't really fault Bungo Stray Dogs for doing that because it's commonplace and expected for an action genre. And that's all I really wanted to say. I don't want to go into the spoilers for the Dead Apple movie. I do feel like they do a little bit of a twist on a common shonen trope in shonen action series, or like I believe what happens in Dead Apple I have seen in other shonen shows, at least in a filler arc for another shonen show. So it is almost like playing on specific types of tropes in shonen, but it's done in an interesting way. So I do feel like it is a fun watch. You also get to see a character that does not get as much screen time. So for that reason and that main reason alone, it probably draw in a lot of people for that specific character. We should definitely see more of them, but because Bungo Stray Dogs has such a large cast, it's very hard to see everyone. So the only thing I could say is a detriment is the large cast that perhaps doesn't get all of the development that they should be getting. But overall, the series is very much underappreciated as an action, supernatural mystery show in a contemporary setting. A very odd mix of genres that I think is very intriguing and should garner more attention. So please watch this show if you haven't already. Check it out. It's super fun. And that's all I gotta say about it. I hope you enjoyed this video.